And welcome back to the channel. This is Thomas Goes Nostalgic, and in this episode, we're going to be building a diorama for our What If Marvel Legends. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the Hasbro Marvel Legends What If Wave. This was a great show, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're great one-offs, but they can also be considered part of the continuity of the greater MCU. So I wanted to build a display for them that would fit in my IKEA Detolf. You see all these Detolf cabinets behind me, and I wanted to do like a galaxy backdrop. So I figure if you buy these acrylic risers, it's cool. It kind of raises some of the characters so they're on different levels. But these are $13.99 on Amazon for a pack of 6. I'm going to show you how you can just take your scraps of foam, build some terrain, build some risers that look like rocks, and really for a 4 by 8 foot piece of foam that costs $18, you can make a lot of terrain or risers for your displays. So let's get into it and I'll show you how I did it. So while the concept of What If is new to the MCU and the small screen, it's actually been in the comics for quite some time, since about the 70s. You had story arcs like What If Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? And since then he has joined the Fantastic Four on multiple occasions. So we're going to take a closer look at these figures. Now Marvel's What If on Disney Plus is an anthology series within the MCU if certain characters made different decisions. So I won't spoil too much about the characters, but we are going to look at this display. Now you might notice that some of the characters look a little different. You have T'Challa as Star-Lord, Captain America is a zombie, Peggy Carter's in the Captain Britain outfit, and Doctor Strange is looking a little evil, all while the Watcher watches. So in looking at this display, before I mentioned those risers that I would purchase, I have multiple packs of these that I would use in my displays, but I really wanted to start building my own so that 1, I can save a little money, and 2, get some creative ideas. So in this case, if we're making a galaxy diorama, I really wanted to make some meteorite surfaces or some rocks. So my hope is that this is the first of many videos that are specifically to build a diorama that would fit inside these Detolf cabinets. These are a lot of collectors go to when they just need a quick display. So before we get started, we're going to do some measurements of the IKEA Detolf shelf. It comes with a glass shelf that is 11 by 15. There's some space in the back, so I think it's going to give me an extra inch. So if I go all the way to the back of the shelf, that's sitting at about 12.5 inches, so you have more room. The only thing you gotta look out for is those poles in the back. So what I'm gonna do to the base is just cut these little corners out so that it will still slip in, and then give me an extra inch of space for the base of the diorama. After that, let's see how tall it is. Alright, we're looking at about 14 inches tall, so I'll try to get it as much as I could close to that height, and then I think we're good to start. So something that I can't emphasize enough is do not throw away any of your scrap foam. You can reuse it. I glued a bunch of pieces together, I started carving a bunch. These will be terrain pieces that I use in the future, so it's really just picking a few pieces and then using those scraps, but try not to throw anything away. So we're going to take some scrap and we're just going to cut a bunch of pieces. I'm going to cut this board into a bunch of even pieces, and then I'm going to glue it together, and then once all that glue dries, we'll go ahead and then start carving it into our terrain. So now that all the pieces are cut, I'm just stacking them, and I'm going to start applying some glue. And for this, you can just use regular Elmer's glue. Really what you want to do is when you're applying the glue is just make sure you put it on and then apply it evenly so that all of the pieces stick together pretty nicely. So when you apply the glue, it should look like this. Spread it out throughout the whole surface and then start stacking them on top of each other. And once all the glue is applied, just apply some weight as well. So if you have some weights, some books, anything that you can put on the stacks of foam just to hold that glue down. And at this point I have about 4 different stacks of foam, and they're square right now. You have a long rectangle in the back, but I'm going to start carving the edges. I'm going to use my hot wire cutter, and I'm going to use a foam wand to start carving away little pieces just until I get some random cuts just to make it look natural. And while I'm waiting for those stacks to dry, I'm going to start working on the base. So I measured out 12 by 15. That's going to be the measurement for the base that will go on the shelf. I usually like to start one part of the project, and if I'm waiting for something to dry, or whether it's glue or paint, I like to get something else done, so kind of multitask. And now that the glue is dried, I went ahead and put one through the hot wire cutter just to make some of those indentations that you see. I'll demonstrate how I did that, but basically I'm going to put it through the hot wire cutter, and then with my other tool I'm going to go in a different direction just to get some more natural cuts. So I'm speeding this process up, but you'll see different directions that I'm cutting the foam in. And this is after I use the hot wire cutter. So now I'm using my hand tool, and I'm just going the opposite direction that I wasn't able to do with the tabletop. Alright, so here's a piece. It has cuts going in different directions, really starting to look more natural. And then I went ahead and primed them. So of course, like I said in my other videos, this is my favorite part of the project. I love how everything looks in black. I beat it up with a rock a little bit before just to make some more indentations on top, if you can see. And the prime, as always, consists of black acrylic and Mod Podge. This just helps protect your projects a little better. So we're going to let that dry and then see how it looks on the base that I painted. So with the base, I painted it a few different colors, a gray, mixed in some metallic purples just so it can have a little bit of different texture there. And I'm going to take a metallic spray paint and lightly go over these rocks and the base just to kind of give it some more shine. And now that everything has that metallic spray paint coat, starting out that base color, and then I'm going to start dry brushing. So this is where I start mixing in some metallic acrylics, and I'm going to try and do different colors for each base. So we'll go ahead and see how that looks. So we're looking at one of the first pieces that I dry brushed. This one I used some white metallic on just to give some of the edges those highlights. And as I move on to the next one, I just want to experiment with different colors. So I'm not going to do these all the same. I think it would be cool just to mix it up. This way, when the light's hitting the rocks at a certain point, you might get a different glimmer or a different color when you look at it. So especially when learning different painting techniques, dry brushing for some reason was intimidating to me because I really didn't know what it meant. But really, when you start getting the hang of it, you can see just a little bit of dry brushing makes all of those cracks and those details really come out of the project. So when I move on to the next piece, I'm going to demonstrate how I dry brush a little bit, and then you can see how I do it. Okay, so everything's dry brushed. I used different metallic paints. I used purple metallic, I used white metallic, and I used blue metallic. And like I said before, if you're looking at the diorama, I just really want it to be that if you're looking at it from a different angle, you might see different colors shine off of the rocks. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I really tried to make it not uniform. This way I can play around and move the pieces around however I like it. So my rock formations are pretty much done. All of the paint is dry. These look great. Love all the different colors. I really think that they'll pop, and when a light hits it, you'll get a different glimmer of all these different shades, so that's pretty neat. So now let me start working on the base and the backdrop. The base, I pretty much just used that metallic paint. It gave it some dry brushing, but then I'm going to go ahead and work on the backdrop now. And before I actually started painting anything, I did it off camera, but I magnetized everything, put a bunch of magnets in just to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. And now we're looking at this backdrop. So first we're going to prime it with that black acrylic paint and some Mod Podge. and then we'll start putting the galaxy pattern on it. And for doing the galaxy backdrop, all you need is some paint and a kitchen sponge. So as I'm demonstrating here, I'm using a kitchen sponge. I'm just dipping paint in random spots, and I'm using whatever colors I like. So I really wanted to use all of my black light paints that I had. So you'll see a bunch of different colors here. And at the end, when you put the stars on, you just go ahead and speckle a little white on, so it looks like you have those star patterns. After this, we're going to see how it looks in the black light, and then we'll get some figures on. Alright folks, and this diorama is complete. So the galaxy backdrop diorama that I made, this is for my Hasbro Marvel Legends What If figures. They're on those risers that I made out of foam. I wanted it to look like meteorites or broken rock, or if you were on a strange planet with metallic rocks that are everywhere. I did some metallic purples, blues, and silvers. Everyone's on there. So my favorite part about this is that that backdrop is black light activated. So let's go ahead and turn the black light on and see how it looks. Okay, so with the black light on, that backdrop just glows, and this is going to be a cool effect in my toy room when the lights are off and I have the blue light going. That backdrop is just going to pop, and I'm going to get to see all those colors in the universe. So I love how that looks. Let's go ahead and get this in the shelf. Alright folks, that does it for this week. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you next week.